Hello, folks, and welcome to the first stream with Merak and I, doing a multiplayer head-to-head campaign with me playing the Order of the Loremasters with Teclis, a High Elf group, and Merak is playing the Count of Lybaras, which is one of the Tomb King.
Yes, the Court
Yes,
of Lybaras.
Court of Lybaras. That's what it is. One of the Tomb King factions. So I am located kind of like in this little section, and even though you can't see it, Merrick is like on the far other side of the map. I want to say kind of around here. So it's
I remember
Merrick's.
I remember there's something interesting about this actually. In one of our when we did the whole grand campaign back at Warhammer One, I was playing the Empire, you were playing the dwarves, and we actually came to the very edge of the map, and we talked about how there would be probably additional stuff beyond that part of the map because it looked like it would the map expanded. The map was ended there, but that very edge, the very corner down, it's like, oh, that looks like it could be an expansion or something like that. And lo and behold, here we are years later, and that's exactly where I'm starting the game at that same edge where we were talking about. That's interesting how right we were back then.
Yes. So the basic objectives in a head-to-head campaign is pretty much just taking 100 different settlements before your opponent or destroy their faction. I don't know which way we'll end up going in this playthrough, but it'll be interesting to see.
Mm. I didn't know there was the whole settlement objective there, but I didn't know we would be basically fighting against one another.
I figure make it different. Plus,
Yeah.
the good thing about head to head, you can control the other faction in doing a head to head.
Yeah, it's certainly a lot more entertaining in those fights.
Like this one, for example.
Wow. Actually, I don't. To be honest, we started this thing, and I don't really know what you're playing as. I don't know if you're the Skaven or if you're the High Elves.
Oh, I'm the High Elves.
Okay. I was kind of confusing. Wait, why would he attack with like just one unit there and attack a bunch of High Elves? Uh, hmm.
I mean,
I thought there's no
I've
point in
done
that one.
I've done crazy stuff with the Skaven before, but
Yeah.
Pickle says I'm just pairing up the armies like how Nuby does it. Yeah, that generally seems to work out pretty well. So Luther Harkin got wise to what I was planning to do and went up and fled.
That's a dark elf guy, right?
So, no, he's the Vampire Coast guy.
Oh. His name sounds vaguely familiar, similar to the squid face dark elf king.
Let's see. I have him right over here. Where's he at? Look here, Fellhearts.
Yeah. See, he started with L.
It starts with an L.
That's close enough.
All right, so I think I'm just gonna bring my army back in to try and work on public order. I'm working to build up this settlement too, but yeah, that's happening slowly. I don't have anything that... Oh wait, I do have something that helps with growth. Let's do that then for the time being.
Apparently, I'm being attacked. Okay.
By the Silver Host already? Didn't they just...
Yeah. No. I laid a siege to their. You're gonna see it now. I
Oh.
laid a siege to their what you call it, to their main city,
Mm-hmm.
and they attacked right away instead of just waiting.
Uh-huh.
But as I was saying, the original Warhammer, you had this basic template of a faction, which is why I mentioned the whole you got supply penalties for if you have more than one army. The
Mm-hmm.
supply penalties on the vampire counts is also a gold penalty, even though they say, oh, the winds of magic are being split to supply our troops. No, you're actually taking a gold penalty. You don't have a special resource called winds of magic that's being drained. Uh, and I feel the green skins are basically the same thing. Like they still have that basic templates with their little unique mechanics regarding the log and all that, but they are still following the basic template established by the original Warhammer and the Empire as well. But the Empire actually fits. They're like your generic civilization stuff. So maybe the greenskins need something of a more unique mechanic for themselves. I don't know.
Omar asks, are these bats? We do have some bats here. A few fell bats. And we have our dire wolves. And lots of ghouls.
This would be interesting because you definitely have a number advantage there.
Pickle asks, how do you set up those unit groups? So the way I generally do it is I just select all the units that I want, and then right-click and scroll them out. So for example, with these guys that are coming in, just right-click, and then you can spread them out, or you can make them really deep. Anything like that.
Crypt ghouls, zombies, zombies, zombies. Zombies everywhere.
Yep. Pickle says, talking about those numbers on top. Wait, numbers on... Oh, Control 1 and Control 2. The basic way that you set up control groups. Come on, Pickle. You should know that. You've played Age of Empires.
You selected the thing and just hold Control and 1 and 2
Yep.
T or... I saw those bats. Don't think you're sneaking around.
Jumping says, kind of hard to hide a herd of night flaps.
True enough.
All right, so I am bringing in a little bit of commentary here after the fact, just to comment on what's been going on in the fight. So, yes, Merak did notice my fellbats in that area. He did not notice, however, or if he did, he didn't do anything about it, the one group of dire wolves that I had going in there as well. Pretty much I expected that the fellbats were going to be attacked, and so I kind of had them be a little bit of like arrow fodder, and instead got the direwolves into position to take on his skeleton archers. Meanwhile, the rest of the ghouls and all that were pretty much running in to swarm his forces. Yeah, this is kind of one thing that's part of these head-to-head campaigns, is that when you're not fighting with your own forces, you can be a lot more aggressive with them. And take that as you will, whether it's good or bad, it definitely adds a different dynamic to the whole fight. So I wasn't afraid of sending in the whole force, and I didn't really expect to lose, anything major, because, it's not my forces. I'm the High Elves. So the Silver Host here that Merak is fighting against, if they lost their forces, even if they lost the battle, doing as much damage to Merak's forces as possible would be a benefit to me. So I pretty much just go all in, and at this point in the battle, it's just tearing down his forces.
Look at all those stacked units in melee range. Look at all that venom.
Alright, so at this portion of the fight, I kind of missed what Merak was using Khalida for. Khalida has an ability where pretty much it's kind of like a knockback ability, where there's a big explosion centered around her that, as Merak was referencing, a bit of like venom. So, in at this point, I think I start to notice that she's definitely the main focus of the fight. So I prepare my Vampire Lord to send him in to attack her. And because of the nature of the Vampire Lord, especially with his buffs, I can give him a buff that raises his melee attack quite a bit, which is very useful when you're taking on lords or heroes or that sort of thing. So it looks actually like I'm trying to focus more on the priest first, and then if I can take out the priest, I figure I can take out Khalida. Actually, no, I'm focusing on Khalida here. Alright, I take it back. But yeah, and then at this point, I'm just checking on the other forces. For the most part, the mass amount of ghouls that are part of this army seem to be doing rather well against the basic Tomb King units.
There goes a unit.
I would say the biggest issue is that Crypt Ghouls do not have a lot of attack. But then again, the majority skeletons that are part of this Tomb King army right now, they don't have a lot of defense. So overall, I think it goes to the vampires. You really do like that
Well,
surrounding
you will.
attack.
So many
So
flags scattered. I don't even see the flag of your general anymore.
there is a lot going around, that's for sure. Okay, we got some of them out of the way. So Omar, we are fighting already. So the thing with a head-to-head campaign is you can take control of enemy armies when in battle. So Merak is attacking one of the Silver Host, which is a vampire faction, one of their group or one of their cities. Well, the army decided to come out and kind of like fights.
Yeah.
And what's going on is we're fighting out in the battlefield.
Yeah, I'm pretty much gonna lose this one.
So at this point, it's pretty much clear that Merak is going to lose this battle. I'd say the biggest problem he had is, at least from my perspective, he didn't really focus on the Vampire Lord. Being an undead faction, and especially because we're playing this on normal, if he did take out the Lord, that might have saved him. Unless you can get some really good hits here on this guy.
Yeah, there's not enough firepower to take out that count.
Now, Merak did have a group of Necropolis Knights as well as Sepulchral Stalkers. If he sort of maybe grouped those together to focus down on my Vampire Lord, I think it might have been enough to take out the Vampire Lord, and again, because they're undead, if he took out the Vampire Lord, it might have taken the whole army out. Especially because there were no other heroes. Pickle says, ally with the Skaven, so you might have a chance nuking Merak. No, I haven't actually seen the Skaven use any of the Doom Spheres yet. Well, there's only one Skaven faction that can actually use the Doom Spheres, and that's Clan Scryer, so gotta keep that in mind too, I suppose.
I'm not familiar with this Doom Sphere stuff.
Now, obviously, I did play the Skaven. I would have to do that to you, Merak, but...
Oh, I told that hero to run away and he did not do that. That's disappointing.
One thing I will say is this conversation did make me think about the fact that do the Skaven under Clan Scryer use the Doom Spheres within like the main campaign, or is it only something that a player will do? If you know any instances where the AI has actually done that, let me know in the comments. I'd definitely like to know that, because I don't know, it just seems interesting if it would get that far. Although I bet you're doing something that you never see the AI do and actually withdraw the remnants of your army.
Yeah, like I removed them because I'm gonna have to rebuild them and stuff like that. So Might as well remove as many troops as I can
Yeah.
in one piece. Like the two of the archers, those archers that are retreating, they took no damage whatsoever. They still have full complement.
Hmm.
It's a shame some of the units, like they were starting to run away, but they didn't. That's just kind of like the hero that ended up falling.
Well, they take different routes to leave, so I think he was trying, but then he got in the way of the other army that I had. You know, their
Possible.
withdraw isn't like, uh-oh. Oh no,
What
Merak.
what happened there?
You
Oh,
hit army losses.
yeah, I think it's because the whatchamacallit,
Khalida,
the Khalida this
she
she
left.
disappeared from the
Oh
map. Her
no.
her power failed to contain the other ones, and they all came apart. Okay, so retreat Khalida last. Last turn. Oh Jesus. Oh, that was awful.
It's one thing with
Oh,
undead factions. They don't hold up very well once
yeah, the undead factions are actually quite sturdy in the sense that you can fight them for way longer, but when they start falling apart, they actually literally do fall apart.
yes. And especially in, well, I know for the AI, if you're playing a normal campaign, generally the if you take out their commander and their
Yeah,
heroes, most of the time the faction or the units will fall apart.
yeah, that's basically how it goes. If you don't have any, it's because the armies, as you mentioned earlier, they're like a mindless husks. If you don't have anything that's holding them together, they just cease to
Yeah.
exist.
Of course, that makes it difficult when you go to playing hard mode, and they don't operate that way. Their armies stay together after you kill their general. And I'm like, oh hell, my go-to method of defeating undead armies is doesn't work.
Yeah.
So Omar says, big oof to that. And Pickle said, I told some spearmen to retreat. They did a 180 and ran right into the enemy.
Yeah, that's that thing you mentioned about how the retreating isn't exactly. They take their own routes because
Yes.
they aim towards the closest the closest edge of the map. So
Mm-hmm.
what happens? What's the best method to do it is you actually do retreat. With proper commands to pull back towards a safer end of the map, and then you press the withdraw button.
Yes.
Because otherwise, they're just gonna do that thing that what happened with my hero. They're gonna probably run into they're gonna run to the closest edge, and they're gonna run into some enemy, and they get stuck. And I think if they get stuck, if they have some kind of movement impairment, they actually cancel the withdrawal order because they don't fight while they're withdrawing. So it risks them running and running and running and taking damage. So what they do is they cancel the withdrawal order so they can fight and at least then defend themselves a little better.